one problem, let me skip over this slide, is that he famously gives us is what's called the problem of induction. So he thinks that we have this habit of thinking that the future will be like the past. So take a simple example, the sun will rise tomorrow. Well, do we have knowledge of that? I mean, we think yes, right? The sun will be here tomorrow. We have no reason to think that it won't. Now, is it possible that it won't? Yeah. Is it likely? Not really. But he thinks the problem is we claim to have knowledge about future events when we really don't have knowledge about the future, right? I mean, think about something that we think with absolute certainty is going to happen tomorrow. It could be anything from a political event, something that happens in your own household, to something just really mundane about, here's a better example, that my coffee tomorrow morning is not going to be poisoned. Well, I do live in a household with somebody else. Is it possible that they poison me? Yeah, or maybe I get a bad batch of coffee beans, right? The question that Hume is interested in asking and that relates to our purposes is, can I say that I know it? Can I say that I know that my coffee won't be poisoned tomorrow? Hume's famous answer is no. And the reason that that I don't know it is because the only claim I have, the only reason I have to say otherwise is because that has been the way it's been for the last X number of years. But just because something happens in the past doesn't mean it's going to be that way in the future. So this is the problem of induction, very famously. He thinks, well, if I try to get out of this famous problem, well, I've only got two options. We know that all arguments are either deductive or inductive. And deductive argumentation is not going to get us out of the woods, because I can't give a deductive argument to justify inductive reasoning. But I also can't use inductive reasoning to justify inductive reasoning, because that would be circular, right? That's fallacious reasoning. It'd be like, how do I know God exists? Because it says so in the Bible, and the Bible is the word of God. That's fallacious reasoning. That's circular reasoning. So Hume very famously thinks that no deductive argument can establish what he calls the principle that the future will resemble the past, because it'd be weird to use a deductive argument to justify induction. Similarly, I can't use induction to support the principle that the future will resemble the past, because that's circular reasoning. So he thinks essentially inductive reasoning, even in science, cannot be rationally justified, even though we use it on a regular basis. So a very interesting, much discussed problem of induction that David Hume gives us, that occupies a lot of very famous people for years to come. Even to this day, we talk about the problem of induction. And right, of course, we want to say that right, our food and our coffee is not going to be poisoned. We want to cling to our experience, right? We think that we know all kinds of stuff, but Hume thinks, look, this is what philosophy is about: thinking about deep problems and at least asking for justification for the reasoning and thought processes of things that we care about, like science, like philosophy, right? Things that we take for granted. That's what philosophy is all about, as we saw in the first week. Right, so Hume just wants to know what that reason is and what that justification is. And again, this is serves as the foundation, these questions, for cognitive science: how humans think, why we think what we think, as well as psychology, right? He wants to know what that is. He wants to know how the human mind works, and when and where we're justified in thinking what we think. Okay, so here's a simple example that is captured in the cartoon. If the previous 5 minutes didn't make a lot of sense to you, I think this cartoon will hopefully make clear what Hume's worry is. So imagine we have two turkeys here, okay? So the first turkey says, hey, ready to go get fed by the farmer this morning? And then this turkey says, I don't know, I have a funny feeling that maybe we should just stay away from the farmer today. And then the left turkey says, what are you talking about? The farmer is our friend. He gives us delicious grain every day. What are you so worried about? What is this turkey doing right here? He's using the assumption of the principle of the uniformity of nature. every day the farmer has fed the turkeys at the same time every morning. So this turkey is saying, look, by experience, we're going to get fed today. What are you so worried about? And then this turkey says, it just seems like things might be different today for some reason. And then this turkey gets all philosophical. Look, it's simple inductive reasoning. Every day for the past several months, we go see the farmer, and every day he feeds us. Therefore, it's reasonable to infer that the same thing will happen today. And in fact, the inductive inference that he will feed us is stronger today than it has been on any day before, which is pretty funny. So, importantly, let's just reflect here on this. This turkey is saying, look, the reason that we're justified in thinking that we'll get fed today is because every day we get fed at the same time only strengthens the argument that we're going to be fed today, right? And then it changes the next day and the next day, right? So inductive reasoning is something we use all the time, right? And we think that it gets strengthened by every subsequent addition to that case, whether it's feeding pets or right my coffee not being poisoned or whatever example you want to think of. So the turkey seems to have convinced the skeptical turkey, well, when you put it that way, all right, let's go get some food. And then of course, right, it even if you've been fed every day for the last 365 days, today could be the day that the farmer kills you and eats you for Thanksgiving dinner, right? So I think that captures very well the problem of induction that Hume is after, because he's interested in this reasoning between the turkeys and asking, how is inductive reasoning justified, if at all? Because we seem to claim to know a lot of things from inductive reasoning, but is it justified? Hume is skeptical of that. And there's been a lot of philosophical and even psychological discussion about how to get out of such problems ever since Hume gave us this very famous problem a couple hundred years ago. So let me leave it there. Hopefully you enjoy talking and thinking about epistemology, and please let me know if you have any questions about the material or the terms. And thanks for listening as always.